New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams. NYC.
Yeah. What's going on? This is Jay Ellis from the Knick Of Time Show, here giving you that Knicks talk just in the nick of time. And it's time to talk about a Knicks win. Finally, you hear the music. It's Knicks win music today because the Knicks beat the Rockets shorthanded. No Jalen Brunson, no RJ Barrett, just Julius Randle and friends, 108-88. Shout out to these Knicks who stopped a 5-game losing streak. All right, let's get to these stats though. Julius Randle, 35 points, 6 assists, 1 block with 12 rebounds. Mitch Chipson with 6 points and 12 rebounds. Quickly, still dropping buckets, gives you 27 points, 7 assists, and 3 steals. Quentin Grimes gives you 19 points, 2 assists, and 2 steals. The Knicks attempt 32 free throws on the night and hit a good clip. At the same time, they force 24 turnovers and score nearly 37 points off of those turnovers. And the Knicks win. Go into 2023 above 500 for the first time in 10 years. And we're going to talk about it all. Before I talk about it, first, shout out to Fubo TV. If you want to watch the Knicks for free for 7 days on MSG, go to FuboTV.com/KOT and you can watch those Knicks for free for 7 days. All right. And if you decide to buy it, KOT gets a cut and you help us out and you get to watch Knicks, other sports channels, and other cable channels for free. And the best part is it has no contract. So shout out to Fubo TV. All right. All right. Also, please hit that like button early and subscribe to the channel if you're feeling our breakdowns and our Knicks talk. All right. But before I begin to get to the details of the game, also, I want to introduce you to my guy. You already know what it is. Mr. Posting and Toasting contributor, ESPN contributor, Deadspin contributor, even, I said, what? Contributor, my man, Lee Escobedo, the Latin assassin. What's going on, Lee?
Man, I need a break, bro, from that Mavs game. I was there in person with my pops. Brutal, dude. Brutal. So I didn't even watch the Spurs game. I finally had the gall to check out y'all's post-game recap for that Mavs one when Raw was on the show. And it inspired me to want to come on here and talk some Knicks because I had some disagreements with some of the points that were made on that show and the team moving forward. But I got to say, I am happy they won the night, mostly for my guys, man. The guys on my team, I think they really needed something that could pick me up before we go into the new year. To me, this win didn't move a needle at all. I mean, it was kind of everything we knew showed itself to be true, both good and bad. But I think this win was needed for the guys' morale to be picked up after a 5-game losing streak. And I think there's probably still some hauntings of that Dallas game and the way that played out.
Yeah, there's certain things to address. But we'll definitely get to that. We can talk about that. We'll get to this game first, and then we'll get to your disagreements about the Dallas game, our points there, and the team moving forward. But we can definitely get to all that. But let's get to this game in particular. The Spurs game. Spurs, they shot well from 3 last game, scored 38 points in the first quarter. This game seemed eerily similar. They made 35 points in the first quarter this game. Shot well from 3 again. Matter of fact, I think they were 8 for 12 from 3 in the first quarter, and they shot 1 for 12 in the second quarter. So the defense picked up. And the only reason we was able to kind of keep up was we did force turnovers. We had like 4 turnovers or so in the first quarter, and Julius Randle was able to score when he wanted to and kept us in the game. But overall, we got it together. The defense picked up. We held this team to 100 points, and we put it together without. It was an ugly game. It wasn't a game where you're like, wow, offensively everything is all clicking. Outside of Julius Randle, really, who had another great night, shot 45% from the three, 38% from three. Don't look now, but Randall is creeping up on NBA average from three while giving you career highs and I think field goal percentage, I believe. I don't know if it's field goal percentage or 2-point percentage. I looked earlier today. And also the turnovers are also starting to come down. I'm liking the way Julius Randle's rounding into shade offensively. Seems very much in control all game. Drew fouls at a high clip, 12 of 16 from the free throw line, and just kind of dominated this game and dominated a team who really doesn't have a go-to guy. I don't know. What did you see from the game, Lee?
Yeah, the Houston Rockets are one of the worst teams in the NBA on both sides of the ball. So, unlike the Spurs game, I really felt like that they couldn't lose twice to two bottom feeders back to back. I really felt like that they would at least split after the Dallas game, going deeper south into Texas, that they would split these two games, and they did. Even though I think there were a lot of miscues that some of it carried over in the first quarter where they weren't fighting to get under screens, and the Houston Rockets were nailing threes. Just about everybody on the team was nailing threes. You didn't kind of see the chemistry change from the first to second quarter because guys were really getting hot. A lot of the Houston Rocket players were trying to set to draw charges and offensive fouls on the Knicks too, just like going to extra effort on defense because everyone was lighting up from three. And then the Knicks really locked in, especially with Brian quickly, to really get under screens and keep those shooters to have a man in front of them and not give them enough space on the perimeter, which I was happy to see. And that's a Tom Thibodeau team. If we're going to criticize, you have to give props where it's due as well. And those adjustments usually are made within the span of the first half. Tibbs is going to lock in, let guys know what needs to be done, and the team communicates because that's also ingrained in them through practices and communication on the defensive side. But I wasn't really impressed with the bench production. That has a lot to do with injuries because now our bench players are our starters. But every minute that Isaiah Hartenstein plays, it just brings back memories of Michael Goliath. Man, the dude is just like garbage. He's gotten worse every game, it feels like. I think the beginning of the season, he started out, I was more optimistic about the potential he could bring to the lineup. And we've had our conversation about how he's not utilized in the high pick and roll to find cutters. But in the role that he is being utilized, he's awful. I'm starting to really hate the Sims-Hartenstein pairing. Every time Mitch sits down, my sphincter clenches a little bit because I know that we're about to have some really terrible rotations on the perimeter for shooters. But it is what it is. The high points throughout this losing streak, I had nothing bad to say about Julius Randle. The man's balling. I mean, the stats for December were unbelievable. I saved a meme that I saw that had his full lineup of accomplishments for this last month. 28 points a game on 48% field goal shooting, 38% from three, 11.4 rebounds, and 37 minutes a game. That's really efficient and unbelievably awesome all-star caliber play for my man Julius Randle. Got no complaints for him. Not ringing the trade bell for him. I'm really happy with him leading the charge and like the minutes that got from Grimes as well. Quickly was kind of a mixed bag, even though the stats were gaudy. The shooting splits were horrific again, but I had nothing bad to say about Quentin Grimes playing in front of his hometown. Saw his mom in the stands. That was really sweet to see.
Yeah, this is one of those things. I'm a triple down on the Randle. He's turned the corner mentally. The turnovers are down. I talked about this the last time, Lee. I said in the beginning of the season, I'm really going to start to judge Randle when I really start to see how he moves when Jalen Brunson is down. Will he be able to keep his head? Will he be able to, to not get too frustrated and get all these extra techs and fouls and lose control? It's the Spurs game, the one that we lost. I commend Randle for keeping his cool because he didn't. This is one of those games where everybody was shooting like crap. And even though we lost, I liked the headspace he was in. And even when the game was on the line, he kept fighting. And even though, Randle is not a first option, it didn't always look pretty, but I like the headspace he's in. So I like where he is mentally. I like where his numbers are going. I can see as the year progresses that we might start to see. He was shooting 40% from three in that COVID year.
Yeah.
And he really started turning it on to that 40% mark after the halftime mark in February. He's approaching 34% now, and he's been steadily climbing each month. I'm curious to see if he ends the year, maybe not 40, but kind of close to it, like 37 or 38, because he seems like he's in a real rhythm right now. I gotta give it to him. And even just the wherewithal to, like, you know what, these guys can't guard me. We're struggling right now. Let me get a couple of rip through fouls so I can get myself on the foul line to get going. Heady stuff like that. It just seems like Randall's basketball IQ is growing before our eyes. So I salute Randall for his performance this year for sure.
I agree. And the thing about him, consistently, he's playing hard on both ends of the floor. It doesn't mean that he's not making mistakes or that he can't slip into an ISO-centric mode, but the effort's always there. And that wasn't the case last year. And I think that's where a lot of the fans got divisive with him and the relationship started to deteriorate, is because the effort wasn't always there game to game. This season, even during the losses, even during this 5-game stretch, dude had tried his best to put the team on his back, to get guys involved, and to try to find his guys that are in shooting slumps and keep the rhythm going, encouraging them. He's being vocal. I'd had nothing bad to say about him, man. He's playing really good defense. And he's playing bulldog on the offensive end.
Absolutely. And I'm gonna get into I'm going to get into Quickly and Grimes in a minute as well. Quickly. Oh, I'm sorry, Ron. Let me see. Where are you? Quickly 27.7 assists, plus 25 on the night, 3 steals, 5 rebounds. I really wanted Quickly to start this year before we got Jalen Brunson. I felt like Quickly could actually, see him grow in a starting role with consistent minutes. And the shooting numbers weren't really pretty today. 30%, 36% from the field, 30% from three. The game with the Spurs, they were a little bit nicer, even though the middle of the game wasn't good, but the fourth quarter he turned it on, and he had the splits actually looked better towards the end of the night. But at the end of the day, I'm the double digit scoring, the high assist numbers, the high rebound numbers for a guard or something that I like. And I just wonder, I'm very happy that Brunson is here, but I just wonder if last season he really got the starting point guard nod, where would he be? More specifically in the second half of the season, because this is only his third start or so. He's giving you 20 plus points a game and maybe over 6 assists at this point, because he had a 15 assist game the other day. And on top of that, the defense has been good. The Spurs, I said it in the Spurs game, the matchups were bad for us. Those guys are longer. I felt like the taller guys were able to shoot over him. But today, I feel like Quickly and Grimes and McBride did a good job buckling down on defense today. Quickly did a really good job reading those passing lanes after they collapsed on drivers and got some steals. Masterful game for Quickly tonight. Plus 25, one of the highest plus minus on the night. Him and Julius Randle share the highest plus minus, plus 25. And I'll also say this too. This being the first time he's actually started. And just the team in general. I think this is a philosophy difference for me. I feel like a lot of people are kind of hard on the team once Brunson and RJ went down. But when you only have Randall who's a bona fide scorer, Quickly who can score but has to take on a bigger role, and Grimes too, it's kind of like I kind of expected. I'm kind of actually shocked that we're still able to score over 100 points, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I really agree with you. There's no reason why Emmanuel Quickly shouldn't have been the starter over a small forward like Alec Burks in the second half of the season last year. And I told my dad too, like even some other buddies I was texting, they were like, McBride needs to sit because he was having another hard shooting night. But in my opinion, I'd rather get his lumps in real time game moments than putting up 30, 10, and 15 in the G League, and not meaningless, but against meaningless competition. And I think when he's playing the game, it's better for his experience he's getting this year to fortify him and know what he needs to work on during the offseason and the way he needs to work on with the assistant coaching staff and practice for going the next season, when hopefully we have more talent on the roster and maybe a little bit more space for him to play in the backcourt once Rose is taken off the team.
Yeah, I agree. The McBride thing is still a thing to watch. With McBride, I'm not gonna overreact to underreact right now. He's struggling offensively. I expect him to start, at least in my mind, bare minimum to start hit open 3-point shots, because I've seen it in summer league. You've seen it, in G League. But when Randall's working hard to give you open shots, you got to take it. So I hopefully he starts to hit those. But where the concern for McBride has been is the shot block rate. It seems like whenever he goes to the hole, he can't really score, or he doesn't have the savvy yet to figure out how to score over taller defenders. It seemed like he started to do that earlier, like a couple of games ago before the Spurs, but since the Spurs games, it seems like he's routinely getting blocked at the backboard, at the rim. And at this point, like I said, it's still early. He's getting a lot of minutes he's not used to, but it is a long-term concern, and I hope he can actually develop that moving forward.
Yeah, the scouting's out on him too. Most coaches are aware of the struggles he's had shooting a 3-ball. So I'm sure that they're giving him space on the perimeter and crowding him when he goes in there. So they're making it difficult on him to get easy points in the basket. If that 3-point shot to come down with any more efficiency than it has in the last 5 or 7 games, then he should have a little bit more space to move with, because he has a decent first step to get to the basket. But the defenses are adjusting to his deficiency. So it's easy for them to collapse on him when he's going in.
Yeah, and it seems like he overthinks things. You can tell when the game was on the line versus the Spurs, and he's like, you had to shoot. All of a sudden, he started hitting threes. He started hitting threes out of nowhere. So I think I still feel like, call me naive or whatever. I still feel like the threes are going to drop eventually. He just needs to take care of these opportunities while he has them, because there's going to be a point when Jalen Brunson comes back. And I want you to get into rhythm now, get used to hitting those threes, because when Jalen Brunson does come back, you're going to be going back to 5 and 10 minutes a game or so. You know what I mean? And we want you to be ready to hit those threes.
Hopefully not. I hope it stays above to 10 minutes. I really, I didn't think that Tibbs was going to break that 9-man rotations, but injuries forced his hand. And now we're starting to see some Evan Fournier minutes, and Derrick Rose has consistently been playing 8 to 10 minutes a game. I hope that when Brunson comes back, Rose's minutes are completely evaporated and given completely to McBride, so he can boost some of his reps and playing time in real game situations.
I agree. I think that's coming. I think Derrick Rose, he wasn't playing before when we had a full healthy team, so I don't expect to see him playing afterwards. And Derrick Rose hasn't really shown us really anything at this point, so there's no reason for him to really play. He's a born body at this point. So I love Derrick Rose, but it just is what it is. Yep. But you already mentioned the Evan Fournier, man. Been begging Thibodeau to open up the rotation and not go with the 8-man rotation since that game in Dallas. He's opened it up to Evan Fournier during the Spurs and during today. And you got to give credit to Evan Fournier. He has delivered. It hasn't always been pretty, but we've needed some scoring at certain points, and he provided some scoring. Evan Fournier on the night, 8 points, 2 of 6, it wasn't a great shooting night, but he was there for important moments of the game. You know what I mean? There was that time where the second unit was struggling. He hit a big bucket. Emmanuel quickly hit a bucket as well. And he's trying to stay ready, even though it was a rough shooting night today, but it is what it is. 19 minutes for Evan Fournier. At least he's a threat to hit a three. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for a team that's in desperate need of perimeter shooting to space out the offense, I have no problem with him coming off the bench. Never had a problem with him being a bench player for this team. Never really understood why he was removed from the lineup overall. I know Tibbs was really trying to strengthen the defensive rotations on the perimeter, but there were stretches where we were still. I mean, there was a stretch tonight in the first quarter where we were awful with that 8-man rotation on the perimeter. And Houston, a team of guys who are at average age of 20 or 21, 1 or 2 years in the league, were shooting like confident veterans out there. So yeah, I think that Fournier should be situational, kind of the same way with Davis Bertans is in Dallas, where certain matchups allow him to play some small ball four, or on the perimeter as a secondary facilitator at the three. I think he should be getting his minutes. But it's interesting that Fournier is able to crack the rotation, but Cam Reddish is not. I don't know if Cam Reddish hooked up with Tom Thibodeau's niece or his goddaughter, or like what issues are going on between those two. But it's hard to call it anything but dislike, like personal dislike, in that relationship, because there's no reason why Cam Reddish, who's better at Fournier just about everything but shooting, shouldn't be playing in some situations, especially tonight. We're on a 5-game losing streak. Why not insert Cam Reddish into the rotation and see what he can give you, especially if you're trying to increase his trade value? Because right now, I don't really know what you would get back for him or Fournier. A late protected first-round pick. Like, it's like the value has really shrunken. You're not going to get an equal return for what you gave up to get him. So you should be trying to build up his confidence and build up his trade value and giving him 10, 12 minutes a game. But, Tibbs be tibbing. So here we are. It's interesting that Cam ain't playing. I'm not one of those people in the Cam high that think that he's a second coming of anybody. Like, it's going to be Al Harrington, 2009, coming into a game and dropping 30. But I think he can give you some solid minutes at the 3 and 4 defensively, especially with Obi out.
Yeah, I was really curious to see if he did open up the rotation, would he go for Evan or for Cam. At this point, I'm just like, I don't have any strong feelings either way if it was either one of them at this point, to be honest with you. I would rather see Cam because of his defensive potential personally, but like, it's just like a 1 or 2 games before the trade deadline, I don't see that value rising anything significantly. So I'm not even tight over it anymore, to be honest with you, dog. I'm not even tight. It's like once we got on a winning streak, 8-man winning streak with the 9-man rotation, I was like, okay, well, I guess he found his niche. I was pissed when he didn't play either one of those guys during the Dallas game.
Yeah, me too.
But at this point, I'm flipping a quarter, because we needed offense. We need 3-point shooting and scoring really bad, and we needed defense as well. So as tactically, it was like a flip a coin for me.
I agree with that. I mean, we're still a month and a half, 2 months away from a trade deadline, so there is some time for both of them to build their value up in a pretty solid sample size. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think once one or both RJ and Brunson get back, both those guys are going to stay on the bench. I mean, Cam hasn't even gotten off, so Fournier will be back on the bench. I think Rose's minutes will decrease too, and we'll be seeing the same 9-man rotation that Tibbs was running during that 8-game win streak.
Absolutely. Salute to the chat too. We having to talk about this Knicks win, Knicks versus Houston. We finally stopped a 5-game losing streak and beat the Rockets away from MSG 108-88, led by Emmanuel Quickley and Julius Randle. So if you want to talk, you already know what it is. Dial number 319-527-6241. That's 319-527-6241. I'm gonna try to wrap this show up. So this is New Year's. We trying to be out with the fam and our peoples and stuff. So I'm gonna try to keep this show really tight and concise. All right. All right. You know what? I really don't have. I can get to what you want to talk about, Lee. The only other points I have was I thought it was interesting to see Mitch and Sims play together. And I think that just kind of proves that Tom Thibodeau is frustrated with Hartenstein too. Even though Mitch and Sims only played like 30 seconds together, listen, Hartenstein, he's been pretty good offensively on the offensive boards, but defensively,
Oh,
jeez, man, the defensive
awful, bro.
boards has been
Awful.
bad. And right when that second unit was in the game, he blew a defensive rebound and it led to a three for the Rockets. Tom Thibodeau calls timeout and gets Sims in there with Mitch. So like I said before, Tibbs is seeing it, but there's politics of the game, and there's the game, and he has to play both. We paid Hartenstein the money, so he has to pay both. You're gonna have to just grit through it this season. Next season, I guarantee you, Hartenstein will be the new Evan Fournier.
Yeah, there's definitely a connection between a parallel between Grimes and Fournier last year and Sims and Hartenstein this year. Because Sims outplayed Hartenstein almost every minute that they shared the court together, and Hartenstein still played like 6 or 7 more minutes than Sims. I mean, Hartenstein got like 15 minutes total tonight, and all 15 were a waste of space. It's just like he just gets bullied, you know, like he can't get in a position to where he can take advantage of smaller matchups. He doesn't have the IQ to put himself in position to get those. And on defense, he's getting boxed out muscled. He doesn't, his timing's off too on a defensive rebounds. It's like almost has a different mindset compared to an offensive rebound to a defensive rebound. And maybe because he has a little bit more confidence in his scoring ability around the basket instead of having to get a defensive rebound and set the offense going. It's a little bit interesting how there's such a discrepancy there between both sides of the ball. But, you know, before we finish, man, I really love Quentin Grimes. Love what I saw today. You know, the guy had 19 points and 10 of those were outside of a three-point line, didn't shoot any free throws, and showed you a wide variety of what he can do driving to the basket. He might be our second best penetrator after Brunson. I really love how the kid gets to the hoop, how he uses his body to create space. He absorbs, you know, hits. I've seen 4 games in a row now get to the basket in a larger sample size with a higher role in production and really being able to absorb contact and finish around the rim. I think there's a lot of upside to him that I didn't see in summer league because he was depending so much on the three-point stroke. Yeah. This season, with RJ down these last couple of games, he's really showed his all-around game. Showed a little bit in the mid-range, showed his awesome three-point stroke, and his really excellent ability to get into the paint and the teeth for the defense and hitting those layups and dunks. He's got some athleticism in him, a little bit of bounce. Obviously, he's a great defensive player. I think he leads the NBA right now in the toughest matchups in terms of guarding the opposing team's best player at all times. So a lot of upside, feeling really good about him going into the second half of the season. He's probably the number one Knick I'm going to keep my eye on moving forward.
Yeah, Quentin Grimes, I feel like he was overused in summer league as a first option. But I could see him maybe in a second and third option role, maybe in the future because of the 3-point shooting, because of the decision making as well. Even this season, Clean the Glass has him in the 85th percentile at the rim for his position. He shoots 71% at the rim. And, those numbers are important. That's a recipe for that's like a modern shot chart dream when you're a good above average rim finisher and above average 3-point finisher at the same time. That's the prototype for the modern NBA player. As of this year, he's shooting 36% from 3. So now he's finally creeped up to league average. I expect that number to keep climbing. I expect him to be over league average by the time the season is over. And Grimes and the dishing from Grimes is always a treat.
I agree, man. I think he's got some of the highest potential of this young core that we have on the team. I like his ability at the 2 and 3, and even as a facilitator, he actually has a pretty high IQ as a passer. And we saw Tom Thibodeau run some plays for him. He's actually getting some of the similar plays that ran for RJ, ran for him in these opportunities, and he's taking full advantage of it, getting to the basket with more confidence. At least I have more confidence in him than I do RJ when he's driving to the hole. So Quentin Grimes moving up the charts, probably my second favorite player right now after Brunson, and I love him as the backcourt. That's the future, as of right now with no trades being made. That's probably the two guys we're going to be looking at leading the backcourt for the next couple of years, and I like it a lot. I like how they complement each other.
Absolutely. Mr. Untouchable, man. doing his thing today. Gave you 19 points, excellent defense. Needs to pull back on the ticky-tack fouls a little bit, especially a 3-point line, but you always gonna love the effort for him. And he's become really good at, challenging jump shots, fighting over screens, and saving fast break plays. How many times have we seen him hustle back on defense, smack the ball out of somebody's hands, and it'll either like go out of bounds or hits the player's knee who's in the fast break and go out of bounds. No Quentin Grimes, Mr. Untouchable. No Donovan Mitchell. We not trading Quentin Grimes for you. He's Mr. Untouchable.
I'm not gonna be. You are right about the fouls.
I'm joking.
No, you are right about the fouls, but in that Dallas game, that's the one that really sits out in my mind the most. And when he fouled Luka on the 3-point line, he is always guarding a superstar, and those superstars are going to get calls. So that is a percentage of those titty-tat fouls are just the refs playing politics and giving those calls to the superstars in crunch time. But he does a pretty good job of playing smart, straight-up defense for the most part in the perimeter.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Quentin Grimes, my man. Young Klay Thompson, young Allen Houston.
I love that one. Good call. Good call.
Yeah. We call him Allen Houston here for a while. But I liked your description of him, Lee. You called him, what did you say? You said a combination of Allen Houston and Shumpert.
Yeah, I said he had the offensive Allen Houston, the defensive Iman Shumpert, and the dog mentality of John Starks.
I like that. Here we go. If Allen Houston and Iman Shumpert had a baby, it'd be Quentin Grimes.
That's my kid, man. I love Quentin Grimes. Texas boy.
My guy, Quentin Grimes. So salute to the chat, man. I see everybody in here. 68 people over here in New Year's. First, I want to shout out to Jason M. Long time follower, contributor, supporter of KOT show. Sends a $2 super chat. Says, Mr. Game, just showing love. Happy New Year. Shout out to my guy, Jason M. We always agree, disagree, everything, but, always love for Jason M. A shout out to Jay Boogie, who sends a $10 super chat. Says, shout out to the chat. Blessings, health, happiness, and happy holidays. Happy New Year. So long, 22. Have a good trip. We on the 23. JL, I sent you a New Year banger. We come in the New Year above 500. All right. Shout out to my guy Jay Boogie. And we played the Christmas Jay Boogie's Christmas song already, and we sent the link in the chat on Christmas Day. Definitely check out Jay Boogie's Christmas song. You can play it right now. It's still December. We still in the season, all right? So it still counts. Shout out to Jay Boogie and thank you for the bangers. All right. And also salute to everybody in chat. Shout out to Sherwin. Welcome back, Sherwin. Shout out to DJ Space Ghost. I see you, Roberto Rivera. Who else I see? Almighty Finesse, East Blue Drew. Everybody else is rock with the show. Salute to you. JT Reddick, Gerald McGyver, everybody. If you're new in the chat, let me know. Say new, and I'll give you a shout out, okay? All right. Now let's get to it. I know Lee got the smoke ready. He said, I'm gonna preface you for the guys who hear. Lee said, Jay Ellis, I saw the show that you and Raw did, and I didn't like it. You said some things that I just don't agree with, and I come here to address it.
Well, here's the thing, man. Like, I was live and direct at that game in the stands. My buddy hooked me up with some really fat tickets, and my pops and I were able to experience that game together. We were in good spirits, man. We had a lot of fellow Knick fans in the house. I mean, Dallas always has a lot of Knick fans. So I watched it with my own two eyes, and I just had a lot of disagreements with what Raw said, especially after a loss that was so brutal. And that, I don't know about you, but that loss is still with me. Like, I'm still thinking about that Dallas loss.
Oh, yeah, that loss sucked.
Man, it was one of the worst in recent memory. Definitely the worst since like the RJ Barrett era, even though he was injured. So the first thing he said was that we shouldn't have won that game. Like, if you told me that Brunson, RJ were injured, should we have won that game against Dallas? And I would say, yeah, I still think we could have, because Julius Randle has always balled out in his hometown city. He says that's his gym. Quentin Grimes was able to step into RJ's role and play some really excellent minutes at the 2. Dallas is also not good. Dallas at that point was at one game over 500. They had the same record as us. This is not the Dallas of last year in the Western Conference Finals. Jalen Brunson's on our team. I was wearing his jersey in Dallas. And I don't think there's a reason why we couldn't have at least made that game competitive. And once we did, in the fourth quarter, up by 9 with 30 seconds to go, yeah, we should have won that game. I think all the talk and the hypotheticals about, before the game started and who's playing and who's not go out the window when you're actually up by 9. And that mental collapse, to me, all the things that happened in the course of that mental collapse was on the coaching staff. I try my best to give props and props are due and to be critique when critique are due. And right now, I had nothing bad to say about Julius Randle. If I was to critique Julius Randle, I would be a hater because I'm hating when the evidence shows otherwise. But Tom Thibodeau, I think there's still a lot of critiques to be made about him as a head coach and his decision making, especially in crunch time. Decision not to have Jericho Sims on the foul line when Luka Doncic was shooting those free throws, which he probably wouldn't have gotten an offensive rebound, or just to tell your team, hey, don't worry about anybody else on the court. Don't worry about Reggie Bullock catching the ball and trying to put it back up into the basket or Dwight Powell or anyone else. Just focus on Luka Doncic and double that man. This was a second game in a row that we had where the opposing team is telling us that the systems of defense that we're facing are outdated, that we haven't seen drop coverage since college, or, they're the only team in the NBA that doesn't double Luka Doncic. These are the stars themselves telling us these things, what they're seeing on the court. And I trust their opinion a lot more than us as the fans. And to me, it's a disgrace to have a coach who's so stuck in his ways and so stuck in his own arrogance that he can't evolve with the times and evolve game to game and become a situational coach to be able to change his methodology when the game calls for it. And to me, Raw was carrying a lot of water for the front office and the coach because he's been supporting him from the very get-go. And I have to. I called 50 Burger. I said this is going to be Tom Thibodeau's best coaching year, but there have been moments where it's shown otherwise, and I've been wrong in that initial statement. And I thought about calling him, but I couldn't even watch the recap, bro. I was just so devastated. But I wanted to address it since I have an opportunity with you because I agreed more with your points in that night. But there's still were moments that we should have won. And a lot of those moments were not byproducts of Randall or byproducts of Manuel quickly, even though they had their faults. To me, it really came down to Tom Thibodeau. And that was a game that we could have won and that we should have won.
Okay, so your comments are more about what we're all saying because I kind of agree with you pretty much. I feel like there might have been like 2% that I didn't agree with, but I agree with so much I don't remember exactly what I forgot what I disagreed with, to be honest. I think the only thing I disagreed with was I remember now. The only thing I kind of disagreed with was the beginning statement. If you said we're playing Dallas without Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett, I would expect to lose that game. I do agree with Raw when it comes to that, but the fact that we were up 9 with 30 seconds left, we shouldn't have lost that game. Like that was an historic loss. We're going like one of the only teams who lost who were up 9 with 30 seconds left. Was like I forgot the statistical number. It was something crazy.
We were the first and only.
Yeah, we were the first and only. So the tactical, like you said, the tactical errors that were made. It was like not having and he's done it before. Shout out to Fred Katz, who said that he's done this before when he had Sims and Mitch in there to secure the rebound, so things like that wouldn't happen. He chose not to do it this time. I don't know, maybe he thought Sims was in foul trouble, wasn't playing well mentally, but I still think in those situations you have to do that. I still feel like we should have injected Cam or Evan situationally, even if for 5 minutes, because we played the other players so many high minutes. But I agree with you, man. I definitely agree with you. The only thing I swayed on really was the defensive, like Tibbs adjustments. I agree with. He doesn't make adjustments when he needs to, but like the defense we've had still has us in top 10 in different categories. And I don't know, I watched some other guys' video who said that our defense is kind of similar to another top team. I think it was the Heat's defense that he compared us to, and he's like, they actually do it well, but we don't because we don't actually try hard enough or have people who execute it. So that's the only reason that I've kind of backed off of the systems thing and gone to, well, maybe it's the players. You know what I mean? But all in all, for your grand argument, I agree. I agree with the lack of adjustments, and we shouldn't have won that. We shouldn't have lost that game.
Yes, and players not putting forth enough effort, not hitting free throws. Those are both damnations of a coach. That doesn't mean that the players are not held accountable, but to me, it's part and parcel to the coach preparing your players to know who to box out, who you have covered, to be able to have discipline enough and to practice enough your free throws, especially in crunch time. To me, it has the same responsibility in the head coach as it does for the out of timeout plays or out of bounds plays. Though that's on Tom Thibodeau's to decision making and assertion. And to me, that was completely out the window. And that last 30 seconds, half the damn auditorium left. Like fans were walking up, and I was like talking smack, waving them by. Dude, I was talking smack that whole game. I got my ass laughed out that stadium, bro. They were like booing me, booing me and my dad, bro. It was embarrassing. And then I had to come and watch this show and hear someone defend Tom Thibodeau in the front office for this team it's put in place and this coach that's put in place and the leash that's put on this coach. I'm like, nah, man. Dibs, die, go. Listen, Randall's playing his ass off. I'm not going to say trade Randall. The man's awesome. Yeah. But Tom Thibodeau, to me, needs to go because with him in place, we're stuck in the middle and we're not going to get a generational talent either way. It's not happening in free agency and it's not happening in the draft because right now we're one game over 500 in the 8th seed. We're going to get eliminated in 5 games of the Bucks or the Celtics or whoever we play. What's the point? That's all I'm saying. I had to get that off my chest. Thank you, bro.
I got you. And I'm gonna keep my Tom Thibodeau stance as well. I don't feel like he has. I know he has to go at some point. I just don't think the point is right now. He has to go before the points that stated. You know, his inability to adjust in certain situations. I feel like he has a ceiling when it comes to the playoffs. But for where we at now, when you're still trying to build habits with the young players and teach them how to play defense and put a system in place and all that stuff, he's good for now, for right now. But there's going to be a point where we're going to have to break. I don't think it's right now. I feel like people were kind of pissed that we lost the Spurs game, and I agree that he had a lot to do with the Dallas loss. With the Spurs loss, I can't really. He injected Evan Fournier. He expanded rotation. Like I said, is either or for me at that point. You get in the offense of Evan or some of the defense of Cam. And when you watch the videos, even Cam's defense is good one-on-one, but bad team. So it's a little bit of a trade-off, roll the dice there. To me, I can't really blame Tom for the Spurs loss. I can blame Tom for the Dallas loss. Yeah. For that reason, I wouldn't say it's time to fire him right now, but at some point, I think we definitely gonna have to move on from Tom because of the things you stated, the inability to make adjustments.
Yeah, and I would rather do it sooner than later, just so we can have some direction for the future of his team. Like, what are we trying to do? Are we really trying to compete in a play-in or 6 or 7 seed this season, or are we trying to get maybe the 7th or 10th draft pick? I don't think tanking is even on the table at this point. But are we trying to get a higher draft pick to package our draft capital and move up? Like, I don't really know I look at this team. I don't know what the plan is moving forward, and it even becomes further complicated and muddled under Tom Thibodeau as our head coach. I can't get any discernment on what the point is for this season besides him trying to win every game under his way with no adjustments, and that's led to us being one game over 500.
Well, the plan is to make the playoffs with a team that has mostly young players contributing to the playoffs. And man, quickly, Miles McBride, RJ Barrett, we drafted Mitchell Robinson, we drafted Quentin Grimes, we drafted, along with Jalen Brunson. If we winning as a team and we're over 500 and we're in the playoffs and we have picks moving forward, you then have a situation where the people in your organization's value has risen, and you can probably make a move at a certain point if needs be, and package with picks to get a superstar here. That's been the play. So if we're continuing to win and be around 500, a little bit better, we should be able to make some type of move at some point.
Fair. Also hope it comes sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I think whatever move we make is not going to be. I don't think it's going to be any big moves made before the trade deadline. It's going to be small moves maybe at the trade deadline, if anything. I know we saw an Obi Toppin rumor. It was rumored to say Obi Toppin would go to the Indiana Pacers. I'm not sure if that's will happen, but like you already know, it would probably be for a first round pick, if anything, from the Pacers, who have a bevy of first round picks.
Well,
But
the
like if
only
something like big happens, it would be in the offseason.
the only insider info I can give you from being at that game is from where I was sitting. I would say less than 20 feet away. I watched William Wesley Worldwide West the entire game. He was staying in the tunnel. I didn't see Scott Perry or Leon Rose at the game, but I saw William West. He's mostly by himself. First half, people were coming over taking photos with him. He even signed a few autographs. He was all smiles. By the late third quarter, he was by himself. Someone kept coming out and giving him a brand new sheet of paper. I think they're probably like shooting splits and turnovers and team stats. By that fourth quarter, bro, he was furious.
Oh,
He was
man. I
pissed.
could
So
imagine.
it gave me the inkling that and this has happened in the past. We've heard this rumor. He might be the one pushing for something a little bit bigger behind the scenes. That's pure speculation. Just telling you what I saw when I was there. I kept an eye on the whole game. I think if there is someone that's pushing for a major move, it's probably him.
I can see it too, man. I can see it too. I feel like there's been rumors that World Wide West wanted to move last season. It just hasn't worked out. You keep seeing stories about somebody in the front office who has a lot of power, wants something done. But at the end of the day, Leon Rose has the final say. And that's a lot of reason why probably the big moves haven't been made. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's behind a lot of these big move type of ideas, especially he's at the games live this consistently. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Scouting other teams and seeing how that we compare teams that are about at our playing level. And I would put Dallas and the Knicks really similar. So he's probably trying to see how we stack up against a team that actually does have a superstar and what that looks like, and what kind of players to be best fit around Randall and Brunson moving forward. Because I really feel like this team is truly committing to Randall in the long term. I wouldn't be surprised if Obi has moved, but by this summer. I don't want him to be, but I wouldn't be surprised by it.
I wouldn't be when Randall was having that All-Star season, that first season. He was when we drafted Obi, I was thinking like, oh damn, we might have to move Obi because he's never gonna get an actual shot to really do something. And this year, Obi came in, started shooting well from three. He's gotten a little better defensively, but he still has a long way to go defensively. And at the same time, looking at Randall, he's having another career year. He seems like he's grown even bigger. We have Jalen Brunson here as more of a win now piece, and we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait for Obi to develop. It's gonna take a couple of years, especially because considering he hasn't played more than 18 minutes a game since he's been here, and he's the eighth pick. So even though the rumor is a rumor, like it makes sense because it just seems like there is no path for Obi to reach his full potential. I still feel like Obi has a lot of potential to be a good scorer and hopefully a passable defender in the future who can, move the ball and be really good in a fast-paced offense. But it just seems like it's just no path for him to do it, especially because, Randall's a power forward and he's getting even better this season. So, like, what do you do?
And I'm not advocating that Obi and Randall has been great paired together, but I think most coaches around the NBA, we would have seen those two played in a larger sample size starting from last season. Maybe even in his rookie season, we would have seen that. But Tibbs is so stuck on having a traditional center, hence why we have three on the roster and all three play major minutes, which is absurd. He's the only coach in the NBA doing that as well. We're not going to have any opportunity for Obi or Randall to play any other position besides a power forward position, even as a lead trends in the opposite direction.
The thing is too, even if that was to happen, defensively, Randall and Obi together, how long? Okay, let's say Obi plays 10, 15 minutes behind Randall. How many minutes would you say he can play besides Randall? Do you think he can play like 20 minutes besides Randall?
No. If he's playing 15 minutes behind him, Personally, I would like 10 or 12 Nets to him.
Right. So that's 22. That's 22 minutes a game. He's getting 18 minutes a game right now. So thinking about that, your minutes limit for the number 8 pick, lottery pick in the COVID draft is 21 minutes a game. It's still not. You know what I mean? It's still not.
It's not where you would want it to be, but that's because Julius Randle is one of the best power forwards in the NBA. Like that's the reason, not for anything that Obi has or hasn't done. Although he does have his deficiencies as a switchable big on defense, but really it's because of Julius Randle's emergence in the last 3 seasons that coincided perfectly with Obi Toppin's drafting. He was basically drafted to replace Randle, but Randle, busted out in that most improved player season and everything changed. But I think 22 minutes a game is a kind of what you're seeing Christian Wood do right now in Dallas. He's playing, by himself and about half the minutes, and the other half the minutes he's paired with, before he went down, Maxi Kleber, who's a much better defender and a much better passer. And he's allowed really just to score, and a lot of his defensive miscues are cleaned up by Maxi. I think Randall is just as good of a defender as Maxi is, and has the ability like Maxi to guard the perimeter and switch. It just really has to do with Obi's commitment to defense and his ability to watch tape and improve and understand his footwork and what he needs to do to become better in order for it to work. And that hasn't happened yet. That onus is on Obi, and Obi has not lived up to that onus. So, it's one of the reasons why he's been stuck on the bench. But I think at this point, you have to sell as high as you can on either of them. And I just don't see the front office selling on Randall, even though his stock has never been higher than it is right now. Unfortunately, I think it's going to end up being Obi.
Yeah, shoot. I don't even think it's smart to sell on Randall right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's the unpopular Twitter opinion, but
he's playing great ball. There's few guys in the NBA overall that are playing better than him, and especially his position. No one pops in my head at the power forward position that's playing definitively better than him. That's a true power forward.
Exactly. Which is why I said I said this before in the 76ers game, he wasn't here. The only future trade that makes sense in my head that I can think of is if the reports are true that James Harden wants to leave, and because Jay Harden wants to leave because the Sixers didn't win a chip, he goes back to Houston, and B says, I want to leave, trade me. We trade Randall to the 76ers for a package, and Joel Embiid, Obi comes to be the starting 4 at that point, gets the minutes next to Embiid, who can kind of cover up a little of his shortcomings. And, that's the only thing that kind of makes sense to me in my head. But,
Yeah, Embiid's like the best defensive bid this year. Definitely at the center position. I think he's the second best bid overall in the NBA. Yeah, his defensive numbers have really skyrocketed this year, which I think he's a bona fide MVP candidate. I love Embiid. Made sense with the Leon Rose connection too.
Yep. That's the only thing that can make sense to me in my head that I can theorize without just moving Randall for like first rounder from Phoenix. It's just like doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I agree.
Yeah, but salute to the chat, man. No callers tonight, which is cool. We can wrap this up. But if you're loving the show, please hit the like button and subscribe button. We're here after every game talking Knicks basketball, even on New Year's, even on Christmas. We are here, whether it's me by myself, me and the crew, we are here talking Knicks basketball. So shout out to you guys. All right. And shout out to the guys in the chat. I don't see anybody really new in the chat. Shout out to Almighty Finesse. Been a minute since seeing you. Shout out to JT Riddick. Shout out to Hans Hisu. I think I said it right. Hans Hisu. And everybody else is rocking with the KOT show. All right, man. I guess this is a good time. This is a good place to wrap it up. Good show, Lee. Always good having you here.
Same, buddy.
All right. Let her know where you can find you, sir.
Tomorrow I'll be on SNY TV again in the evening time. We are recording it in the morning, but I'll be on for the evening show with Dexter tomorrow on Sunday for January 1st. You can find me on Twitter until then, talking a lot of smack at _Lee Escobedo, LeeEstobedo.
Right. Search the word bum and Lee Escobedo's name should come out top of the search on Twitter. Type Knicks bum and then boom, you'll see Lee Escobedo. If you can't remember how to spell his name on Twitter, even though it's written right here, type Knicks bum and you'll see.
You got my girl laughing in the background, bro.
Definitely a popular word. Man, you already know, man. You can find the KOT show. You find us on Twitter at the KOT show. Find us on Instagram at the Knick Of Time Show, and also on Facebook at the Knick Of Time Show. Also, listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, everywhere you find podcasts. You can find us. All right. KOT show. Also get those snapbacks, the black and whites and the blue and orange. Shout out to the snapbacks. I see the snapback crew starting to order some snapbacks. Y'all wanted to wait for the winter to order yours. I see you though. I see you. All right. Also, definitely check out Ken's article. He is doing I don't know how many parts he's going to do, but shout out to Ken. He called in the other day, very knowledgeable guy, and he's doing like a 3-part article. I think 3-part or maybe 4-part. You never know with Ken. But he's breaking down the front office moves since he's been there, and he's grading them. The first part was pretty good, so definitely check that out. Shout out to my guy Ken.
Yo,
all right.
Shout out Ken. From one Knicks content writer to another, he's one of the best in the game, man. Knick Of Time Show. Very lucky to have him on your staff. Dude's a great writer, and I'm always sharing his stuff when I publish. He's one of my favorite writers.
Yeah, man. Ken is for real deal, Holyfield. That's why I scooped him up on the show, and then somebody scooped him from me, and I scooped him back. So shout out to Ken. Man, somebody else, man. Listen, I don't brag a lot. KOT are the first, a lot of firsts for KOT. One of the first from KOT is the first, one of the first content creators, not one of the first. I'm sorry. The first podcast content creators to actually put out blog content. All right. Shout out to Ryan G, who was the original first writer from the KOT show, then went to Ken, then expanded from there. And we inspired everybody else to do it. And yellow guys don't know that, but KOT is the first to do it. All right. So shout out to Ken and Ryan G. All right. That is our show. All right. And as you already know what it is. As always,
shout out the Worldwide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
Mess out here in these Knicks YouTube and Twitter streets, you bums. That is our show. We are out of here, man.
Oh, man.
Peace.
New York, big city of dreams. New York, big city of dreams.
NYC.